I want to be learning something. The founder should be 3 levels deeper than me. I think you get in trouble in venture when you are so wed to a thesis or market. You know, the founder is kind of relaying an idea that you wrote about or had, and you're like, that's brilliant, like, let's invest. I think the key is surrounding yourself with people who love you for who you are. It should be a helpful exercise to put stuff out in the world, even if you're not having anyone read it. Like, it synthesizes your thoughts. It organizes what I'm interested in. Good founders pick good business models and good markets. I mean, I think it is 100%, maybe 95% the founder. We learn from, the USVs of the world, IA Ventures, Floodgate, Founder Collective, these more artisanal is what I call them firms. Our ambition with Daybreak has always been to build the next great early stage fund. And it's different, when it's your own fund and sort of your name on the door.
Welcome to Trailblazers, the podcast where we sit down with contrarian tech leaders who found conventional success in unconventional ways. I'm your host, Erica Wenger, founding general partner of Park Rangers Capital. Each week, we uncover the stories, strategies, and moments of grit that define the builders shaping the future. They're not just chasing unicorns, but instead creating elephants, companies, firms, or movements built to last. On Trailblazers, we spotlight founders who succeed by doing things differently, not by following the playbook, but by rewriting it. Many of those unconventional builders and the VCs backing them run on Brex because it helps them scale with speed and focus. From smart corporate cards and high-yield banking to AI-powered expense management, Brex gives startups the financial stack they need from day one so they can spend more time building and less time managing back-office operations. More than 30,000 companies, from breakout startups like Anthropic and Cursor to global leaders like DoorDash and Plaid, trust Brex to help them spend smarter and move faster. That's why we, as a venture firm and also the podcast, run on Brex too. Sign up at brex.com/trailblazerspod to get started and claim exclusive rewards. That's brex.com/TRAILBLAZERSPOD. So today on the show, I am so thrilled to be joined by Rex Woodbury. Rex is the founder and managing partner of Daybreak, an early-stage venture capital firm based here in beautiful New York City. Daybreak is a first-check firm built on the belief that the companies shaping the future will be those improving the lives of the next generation. Before starting Daybreak, Rex was a partner at Index Ventures, where he invested in consumer technology and the creators building online communities. Beyond investing, Rex is also the writer behind Digital Native, a widely read weekly publication exploring the intersection of technology, culture, and the internet, with over 70,000 readers each week. With his unique perspective as both an investor and a storyteller of the digital age, he brings deep insight into how technology continues to shape how we live, work, and connect. Let's welcome Rex.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Thanks for being here. Okay, so I just have to say, the weekly nature of this podcast, that's a commitment. I'm very impressed. I do every 6 weeks because I'm weekly. That's crazy. How do you do it?
I feel like I grew up on Fred Wilson's AVC with these daily things and Bill Gurley's writing and so many different people. And I don't know, for me, it's it should be a helpful exercise to put stuff out in the world, even if you're not having anyone read it. It synthesizes your thoughts. It organizes what I'm interested in. But then it's also helpful for venture because I feel I always say venture is about manufacturing serendipity. It's kind of how do you get as many people as possible to think Erica, to think Rex when they're raising their pre-seed or their seed. And content's one way to be megaphone to the world. This is what I'm interested in. This is what I'm spending time in. And it kind of reminds people every week, he exists. You should introduce him to that founder. And I don't know. It increases the surface area for luck, but it definitely can be a little draining sometimes. And I'm I don't know why I committed to weekly.
I know, I get it. I think the top of mind thing is really important. And I think everyone does it in different shapes and sizes. Even within content, you could be an active Twitter person that's posting daily or weekly, or you could be doing a newsletter. I think pick your poison,
totally.
But staying top of mind, you're right. Okay, so we're going to start with our icebreaker. We go deep really fast.
Okay, let's do it.
Just to really break the ice, give the context. Okay. On the Trailblazers pod, we talk a lot about choosing the hard paths.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with the meaty question. What has been the hardest part of your journey so far? The moment that almost broke you.
We are jumping right into it.
We're getting into it.
On a Monday morning.
I know, this is being recorded on early Monday morning.
I know. Thankfully, I've had 1 or 2 coffees so far, but we'll warm up. I would say for me, I'm very lucky to come from a very loving family. It was always just my dad, brother, and me. So I was born when I was 1. My mom passed away from ovarian cancer. I am young enough that I feel or I was young enough that I don't really identify as someone, who lost their mom. I think it was for me, someone who just had one parent. That was always kind of my reality. And my dad is like the most wonderful, loving person ever.
What's his name?
His name is Derek.
Shout out Derek.
Spelled very weirdly, Derrik. Derek Woodbury. Shout out Dad.
Whoa.
He's the one that reads to her. He is like the only reliable responder to Digital Native each week. I would say it's like sending into the ether, and then he responds. He's like, "Hey, honey, like I loved this piece. I didn't know this." And I'm like, "Thank you for reading." You know,
my God.
even though he does not really understand venture. Sorry, Dad.
What does he do? What's his
He's
career?
a doctor. So both my parents are in medicine. My brother is also in medicine. My mom passed away from ovarian cancer, and so my brother's a urogyn surgeon, so he does kind of a surgical subspecialty of OB-GYN, which kind of has the poetic, return to kind of women's health and removing tumors and things like that.
Like carrying on her legacy. Which
Exactly. I'm the black sheep. I'm like out here investing in some healthcare, but, more kind of, I think my brother's a very deep person who's like, if I help one person in my career, Rex, that is enough for me. And I'm indoctrinated into like Silicon Valley Kool-Aid where I'm like, the broken systems fix everything. You know what I mean? So just different
The more the
approaches.
merrier. Yeah.
Exactly. But to answer your question, I grew up in this really loving family. It was just the three of us, the three musketeers. But I'd say the main struggle for me was just like coming to terms with sexual orientation and identity in high school and in college. I came out at the end of sophomore year of college. And I feel like that was just a big shift for me because it was just like a lot of hatred is too strong of a word, but definitely some judgment and issues that I had to work through, and been to lots of therapy, have loving family, loving friends, but I would say that kind of forged who I was most formatively in my life.
Okay, so I'm having like a really crazy moment here. Just bear with me. I feel like you are like my twin in another life, and I'm going to explain why.
Okay.
So we're going to get into, I want to get actually into the coming out story in a second, but I want to talk about first losing your mom and growing up with the Three Musketeers. So I'm going to literally pull out my phone and I'm going to show you. This is my group chat with my mother and my twin sister.
There you go. Three Musketeers.
Raised by a single mom. Okay, you're going to freak out. So this is Three Musketeers. Okay, so that's the group chat.
I love it. Yeah.
Single mom, twin sister, and me.
Love
so
it.
3 people. Dad died right before I was born from cancer as well.
Wow.
Everyone's in medicine. Dad, mom, sister.
Wow.
And I'm the black
You don't do
sheep.
this with every guest. You're not just kind of
No,
making
I'm
up.
literally like, this is so weird. And I
That
didn't
is
know
funny.
this
Where
about
did you grow
you. Los Angeles.
Okay.
So I'm just like hearing you talk and I'm like,
Yeah.
you're like the male version of my female version.
Yeah.
And it's such a unique experience. Like I totally hear you on the like, not really seeing that parent die from cancer, but
Just kind of your reality.
kind of your reality, but also really shaping you and like making you so grateful for every day to be alive and everyone being in medicine and you not. And so everything you're saying, I'm just like,
I mean,
whoa.
It's interesting because my mom passed away when she was 34. I just turned 32.
Same with my dad, 34.
There you go. I mean, wow. We should introduce our parents. And
I
they can,
know.
like, bond over
they
being
should.
single parents.
Yeah.
So
You're 32 now, so you're getting close to that
exactly.
age.
And I think that'll be interesting when I live longer than my mom. I think that I still probably have a lot of work to do around like understanding death. Like I think it's similar to you where like we're probably so obsessed with like work and venture's busy and you're always chasing the next thing or hustling to help your founders. So you don't really stop and reflect on like, a lot of these questions. But I do always kind of come back and I'm like, nothing really matters other than family and friends and loved ones. And I try to have that mentality. I think New York is good for that. I was in San Francisco before, and San Francisco I think is very tech dominant, which is great. I love it and I love visiting, but New York's nice because I feel like a lot of my friends do not work in venture or tech. And so they're like, I don't care about that funding round. I don't care about that. And that is good to bring me back to earth. And my family not being in tech also is good that way, where they're like, good work, like proud of you for the inputs, but like we don't really care about some of the more service level outputs.
They just don't understand it. So they just like, they support you. But where are they right now? Where are they living?
So I was born in Hartford, Connecticut. When my mom passed away, my dad moved the family to Tucson, Arizona, which is where I grew up.
Wow.
He was kind of like fresh start for the family. He always loved the Southwest. So I grew up there, but then my dad moved back to Connecticut a couple years ago. So
he's there, and then where's
my
your brother?
brother lives in Chicago. He's in his fellowship. So
Got it.
I think I'm getting that right. Medicine's like such a meandering path.
I know, you're
I'm
like
always-
internship, residency, fellowship, almost there.
Exactly.
That's really beautiful. So your dad's close by.
Close by, yeah.
Oh my God. I hear you though on this comment about like how weird that 35th year is going to be for you when you've like outlived your mom.
You as well, I guess.
Like what work have you done? I don't know if you've done anything to sort of like think about that time and think about what motivates you, because and again, I might be projecting here, so tell me if you feel differently, but you've done an insane amount for someone who's 32. And we'll get into all your background, and you're extraordinarily impressive, and you've just built this like really big career at a very young age. And I'm sure you hear that a lot. I have found, at least for myself, this like pressure to do it all before I'm 34.
Yeah.
Like I have this really weird orientation of like, I don't know, like 34 might be the end of my life, and like I could die from cancer, and like I got to really milk those 34 years, and like I don't want to wait to do the thing. And so I don't know if I'm projecting here, but that's one of the reasons why I feel like I've started things. I'm like, I'm not going to wait till I'm 40 and start a fund. Like, no, I literally could die from cancer at 34. So why am I going to wait?
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, I have a very weird conception of time where I grew up kind of like living in fear of danger, or sort of being reminded that life is random and scary. And so like when my dad left for work, he used to like have to exaggeratedly like do his seatbelt because my brother and I were worried about, random things. And my dad's also an orthopedic surgeon, so he sees danger in everything. So we were not allowed like on trampolines, or, definitely would never be allowed to like have a motorcycle and things like that. But I think I kind of had those worries and anxieties built in. So I think for me, when it manifests in the career, it's like this sense of urgency and impatience. And I have a weird relationship with time where I do think if anyone knows the like marshmallow test from Stanford of like,
tell everyone about this, because this is
they test kids at a young age of like, they put one marshmallow down, but they say, if you don't eat this marshmallow, like in 10 minutes, we'll give you 2 marshmallows. And then it's predictive of kids who have kind of discipline and wait for the 2 marshmallows, often go on to be really successful.
It's kind of like the Kylie Jenner TikTok she did with like her kids. Like
exactly.
I'm just for the pop culture
people. I haven't
people.
seen that, but
it's very
I
cute.
assume, yeah.
No, it's like, and there was like a TikTok trend. Like famous people would have their kids sit in front of like candy or marshmallows and do it. Okay, so anyway, keep going. So you're saying it's indicative of
I feel like I'm a very
people.
2 marshmallow person, probably similar to you. I feel like you have to be in like our business world today, but I don't really conceptualize the future that well. I'm very impatient. It's sort of, we're all probably similar. When I was like, I'll close Daybreak Fund 1, then I'll be so happy just we close the fund. You close the fund, 10 minutes later, you're like, well, when I close Fund 2, I'll be happy, and it's impatient. And I think for me, it's kind of like, who knows what's going to happen in the next few years. I probabilistically will live a very long life, but it's always like an urgency or rush to get things done faster and like achieve more. And I think going back to your original question of how the loss of a parent and coming out and all of those things sort of influenced me, I think you see, even separate from the loss of a parent, I think you see a lot of young gay men in particular become sort of wanting to be perfect in a lot of ways, like very high achieving, good at school or good at sports, and like goody two shoes. And there's a book called Best Little Boy in the World that one of my friends wrote. It's sort of like, you want to be the best little boy in the world because your defense mechanism that you develop is, if I'm perfect, I'm untouchable and no one can bully me or taunt me. So I feel like I was so bullied and taunted in like elementary school and middle school that my defense mechanism was achievement. And it was sort of, if I can accomplish these things and get into these schools and do these jobs, then sort of I will be protected from sort of like embarrassment or humiliation or what at the time I perceived as an internal weakness. I talked to my therapist about this, where it's like, there are worse defense mechanisms to have than achievement, right?
Some people do drugs. You just achieve big things.
Always like, it is actually a good defense mechanism. I think it's like, you can try to rewire yourself. You will probably always have that encoded into you, but at least be aware of it and be like, okay, like this is why I'm acting this way. And a lot of the work I've done to answer your original question was like, okay, how do I feel loved for just being born and present and like not having that love contingent upon achievement? And that took a lot of work, and we're probably still not there yet, but working on it.
I was going to say, tell me what the magic pill is to work on that.
And I actually started to drone on about this, but I was
go for it.
I went to this like founder retreat a couple of years ago.
Okay. Would I know what it is or no?
I was at Index before starting Daybreak, and we went to like an Index like
it was like
retreat.
Index specific. It wasn't like a Hoffman process or something. Okay.
And there was this conversation about, everyone was kind of like, I have all of these issues to work out in therapy, but I'm scared because I feel like they actually are making me really successful as an entrepreneur. And so some people were like, should I like wait till I IPO and then work on them? And that resonated with me because I'm always like, I tell my therapist, I'm like, I don't want to like work less hard or be less motivated. And he's always kind of like, the glue is dry at 32. Like, you will always be this way. It is okay to
your frontal lobe has developed, you're done. Yeah.
It's okay to like acknowledge it and then also change your framework so you're less impatient or urgent or things like that, and that it's actually productive. So I thought that was interesting, relevant to startups.
Oh, extremely relevant. I mean, I totally get it. I find that sometimes we have like anxiety, people that are these high achieving. And if you actually take the test, it's like, you should be medicated. You have really bad anxiety. But like, my anxiety helps me. My achievement helps me. What are the things you do that like help ground you in, I am worthy as I am. I don't need achievement. Is it like a mantra you tell yourself? Is it just therapy? Is it meditation? Is it surrounding yourself with good humans? Like what's the anecdote there around how you can not root your self-worth in achievement? Because I think a lot of people listening to this podcast have that same affliction.
Yeah. I think the key is surrounding yourself with people who love you for who you are. There's a good article in The Atlantic I reference a lot called The Best Friendships Are Non-Transactional Friendships. It's basically this idea that we all want friends who are like, I love you, Erica. I don't need anything from you, but like, I just love you for who you are. And I think the challenge of making friends in some colleges or grad school or even in startup world or venture, like there's always some level of transaction. And so I think it takes a lot to get below that and be like, does this person like me because I work at this job or have this fund or, you know, whatever? Or do they just like love me for who I am? And I think it was really kind of a concerted effort and focus to surround myself with those people. And I think that is the key to like having people bring you back to earth and not take things too seriously. And then I think there are a lot of mental frameworks around like pausing, celebrating achievements for a moment. I was actually on a walk last night with my best friend and she's a founder and we were like, how do we get better about like celebrating wins? And we actually asked ChatGPT on this walk and ChatGPT was like, you could use the 48-hour rule, which is like after a big event, like closing a big customer or a fund or a big investment, like taking 48 hours and being like, I'm celebrating, I'm relaxing, I'm not thinking about what's next for this moment. So I haven't implemented that yet, but I think trying to be really thoughtful.
Sounds like it would work.
Next time I achieve something that was a big goal I was working toward for a long time, I will try the 48-hour rule.
I love that one. Yeah. No, I'm a big fan of like, yes, 48-hour rule, but also like finding the little reward that makes you happy. Yeah. Like I'm a Starbucks girl. Like, I don't know why. Like, again, some people choose like drugs. Some people choose like Starbucks. Like,
I'm a Starbucks guy. So
I love
we're
it.
So similar.
We're so similar.
My
so
venti cold brew.
I love.
Yeah.
And like for me, when I, again, have a big win, whatever, I'm like, I'm just going to get myself a little sweet treat. I'm going to get myself a little, you know, green iced tea, whatever it is. And so I think it's celebrating those little moments. Speaking of finding friends that bring you down to earth, is that part of the New York versus SF equation? Like you mentioned, you know, SF, you lived there. It's a little bit more one-dimensional. We both chose in New York to build our funds. Can you talk to me a little bit about that decision and like, you know, how it's played into like your personal life too? Because I think, at least I find when I go to SF, so many wonderful people there. I really do love the Bay, but there is a little bit more of like a who raised the bigger round and like who's growing faster kind of thing. And it's harder to find those non-transactional friendships in the city.
I mean, I do think, you know, I'm wary of this being some soundbite of me like, you know.
Yeah, I know. Okay, this won't be a soundbite. Don't worry.
I love San Francisco. I lived there for 5 years. I do think it's really possible to do that there too. Like I have a friend she works at Andreessen and she was like, you know, Rex, we have our tech friends, me and my husband. And we also have like our East Bay really hippie friends who have nothing, who are artsy and creative. And she was like, that's really healthy for us to have that balance. And so I think you can do it there. I think you can do it here. Like, it's also really nice. Like most of my best, closest friends are adjacent to tech in some ways. Some are founders, like some work in ventures. Actually, that's not true. Probably half of them are, but the other half are in theater or, you know, doctors or lawyers. And I think that's healthy too.
Yeah.
So I would say that's a piece of it, but I chose New York just because I like thrive on I always say collision of humanity. Like I have this really romantic notion of New York where I just love that it feels so vibrant and kinetic and everyone's hustling at their thing. It's not just tech, you know, everyone's kind of striving toward their dreams, but you also have like cultural epicenters and beautiful art and theater and architecture. And I just love it. I'm very romantic about it.
I am the same way. And I think collision of humanity is like a phrase I am copying and I am using. I am just warning you now. I will attribute it to you, but I love it.
My real podcast talking point, which I feel like I've used before, is like, well, I think when I moved back to New York, I wrote this article called New York is the Internet, which was this poetic view of like the things that you and I probably both love about digital culture and the internet are like everyone finds belonging and you can meet really cool people. And no matter how niche your interest is, like your tribe probably exists out there in like Reddit or Patreon or some like sub community. And I think that's really cool because people who didn't really find community IRL can find it online. So that's very poetic. And I think New York's the same way, right? Like it's like everyone, no matter how weird and out there you are, you can find your tribe here.
100%.
So that's my kind of tech blog post headline. New York is the Internet.
I love it. We're gonna like mention so many different articles. You're gonna be getting so many new subscribers. RocketReach is the leading sales and lead intelligence solution trusted by sales, marketing, recruiting, and business development teams to grow their businesses. Whether you're looking for a developer halfway around the world, a C-level executive in New York, or a potential investor in Silicon Valley, we connect you directly. With RocketReach, you can easily access the most comprehensive, accurate compilation of emails and phone numbers on Earth. That puts you in front of the right people faster and backs you up with a database that reaches across industries, markets, and titles, using AI to continually improve the quality of your contacts. With RocketReach, you can reach anyone so you can reach higher. Many of you know I love cold outreach. It's been the root of many of my success so far, and this is the tool that I've used the whole time. Trailblazer listeners get 15% off any plan at rocketreach.co/trailblazers. That's rocketreach.co/trailblazers. What are like your communities these days in New York that you are loving and you're enjoying? Like separate from obviously tech and venture, takes a lot of time. We spend a lot of energy building up that community. What are the areas or the hobbies or the interests that you're cultivating here in New York?
Well, I think one thing that like is lucky about being gay is like you get this like cross section of commonality through very different types of people. So it's like because I think what's tough is as a normal person, like it's hard to make a normal person. As like even like me, like before really entering gay world and meeting a lot of my friends, like you are shaped by a lot of friendships that are a proximity friendship, or they come from your college, they were your dorm friends, or they're your work friends. And I think that's great, but I think it takes a lot of concerted effort to move away and befriend and meet people, who are different than you. Like when my brother moved to Chicago for residency and fellowship, like as like a 30-year-old straight man, it was like, it's tough to meet new people. Like I think it was like, can he join some sports leagues and like different things like that? And now he's met some amazing friends, but like it's hard as a 30-year-old to meet new people. And I think being gay has been lucky because it gives me this like shared commonality with like people who are radically different and like don't care about venture at all.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I think like any way that you can kind of find that through, it could be like a theater group or improv group or arts class or sports team. Like I think it's cool just to surround yourself with people who kind of don't care about your work and you lead with like other things,
Yeah, I think that is so essential. And everyone has their own little quirks of their identity that they lead with. Like, sounds so silly, but I think one thing now is like Taylor Swift stuff. Like, she's becoming such a big part of the zeitgeist and people are making their identity. It's all over their social media. They're going like, I don't know, it doesn't have to be something that is like raised by a single parent or your sexuality. It can be even just fun, light stuff, light passions that you care a lot about.
Yeah, stan culture. Like, I think you see this like dearth of community from obviously like church memberships going down, community rec centers, like a lot of the third spaces that used to exist. And so how do people find that? Like it's around shared interest. And it worries me a little bit with like the further fragmentation of media and culture with every technology shift shatters it. Like the internet shattered it and mobile and AI will shatter it further with more content out there. And there aren't as many kind of water cooler moments to bring people together. And so that is one thing that worries me a little bit.
Yeah, but also there's opportunity there. Like if you can find software that can really help. Quo, formerly OpenPhone, is built to help small business owners and growing teams stay on top of every customer conversation. Instead of juggling calls, texts, and voicemails on a personal phone, Quo gives you a dedicated business line and an all-in-one inbox that works on any device. Teams can collaborate in real time, picking up conversations seamlessly and responding faster than ever. And with Quo's AI agent, Sona, handling after-hour calls, answering questions, and even booking appointments, you'll never miss a lead. Rated 4.7 stars on G2 and trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, Quo, formerly OpenPhone, is the smarter way to grow without missing a customer. Quo is offering my listeners 20% off of your first 3 months at quo.com/trailblazers. That's quo.com/trailblazers. And if you have existing numbers with another service, Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. I've actually used Gusto at 3 different companies, and every time it's been such a relief. It's simple, it's reliable, my paycheck was always on time, no drama. And unlike the big clunky payroll systems out there, Gusto is affordable and designed for teams like ours. Gusto is online payroll and benefits software built for small businesses. It's all-in-one, remote-friendly, and incredibly easy to use, so you can pay, hire, onboard, and support your team from anywhere. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/trailblazers and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/trailblazers. One more time, gusto.com/trailblazers. So let's get into starting your firm, which is really exciting, and that's how we know each other. So your background, very finance,
Mm-hmm.
like, growth equity, investment banking, working at the big firm index.
Reformed banker,
Seriously. So like
reformed PE. Yeah.
Seriously. And even like your econ major, I saw, like
Yeah.
you have a really interesting, obviously like macro background, finance. And then now you're doing early stage investing. And quite frankly, I'm on this soapbox all the time. Like starting your own fund, you're way more of a founder than you are a VC.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have both skill sets, but you're a founder.
Mm-hmm.
So you're basically going from this like big shop finance background to being like a founder.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about why you decided to start your own fund and the thesis behind Daybreak.
Yeah. I think people approach venture from different angles. Like there are people who are true technologists, former engineers. I think people approach investing from, some people are just really good finance people. Like they love the finance of it. I have always thought of myself more as like anthropologist. My dad is a doctor, but he's like obsessed with culture and media. And we kind of grew up like memorizing like box office data and watching the Oscars and like, music charts and things like that. So I was always just really interested in people.
Love that he's cool.
He's so cool.
Yeah. Shout out to Eric.
But I don't know. I mean, I didn't really know anything about tech or venture and just found myself starting out in investment banking, which is I wish I was more thoughtful with it, but like truly the answer was when I was a sophomore in college, there was an article that all of my school's valedictorians were going to Wall Street, Goldman Sachs, and Morgan Stanley. This was like during Occupy Wall Street. And I was like, it was kind of a negative article of like our best and brightest are going to Goldman and Morgan Stanley. But as an impressionable sophomore, you're like, that's where like the 4.0 kids are going. Like it sounds like
good enough.
That is like
Let's
a good
do
training
it.
ground.
Yeah.
And I went to a pretty financy undergrad. And so I think I kind of found myself in banking. And since then I've moved progressively more toward things that are interesting to me. But it's taken me a while. So then I jumped to growth investing and I was doing later stage and I learned I love investing. I love the curiosity of it, but I didn't love the financial engineering piece. I was kind of like, okay, like, it's more obvious by Series C, D, E. I would love to go when it's less obvious. Index was a step in that direction as more of a multi-stage that's kind of at its core a Series A firm. And now I'm even earlier. I'm like first check investing. And I think it still helps to have that background of Goldman and TPG, et cetera, for the rigor of like fund math, one of my favorite topics, or like reserves and all these good things. But the earlier you go, the more it's about the art and the science. And that's what I like. I like understanding big cultural shifts, big tech shifts, how they intersect. I like understanding people. I like that it's all about the entrepreneur at the early days. It's a sales job. It's relationship building. So it took me a while. Like if I could go back, I probably would have like worked at a startup and like tried different things, but like I just didn't really know the Silicon Valley world back then. And I found my way to the venture side, and I love venture. Like I don't really think I meant to start a company. I like thinking in terms of years and big pictures, and I like switching gears to different companies and industries. And so that's why I think starting a fund scratches that itch of entrepreneurship, but in a way that lets me be involved with a lot of types of companies.
Totally. That journey makes perfect sense. You literally just went like this, just straight back down towards early.
Exactly.
I also think venture is a really philosophical job. So like, I think like you were saying, like sort of the later stage you are, the more financial engineering. I think that's very accurate. And then the earlier you get, it's more art than science. And you obviously love to think about ideas and community and culture, which is why your publication has done so well, your weekly newsletter. How do you think about your own relationship with like philosophy versus finance? And like, how does that play into when you meet people and you look at a company? I don't know if you can give a percentage allocation to both, but how do you think about, how much of it's like a financial choice about like the market size and where the company's going to go versus philosophically, like, I like these people. I like how they think about go to market. I like how they think about team building. I like how they think about things and a little bit more aligned with like thesis. I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
I mean, I think it is 100%, maybe 95% the founder. I think the challenge there is like good founders pick good business models and good markets. So it's almost kind of a moot point. Like I think, of course, you need a market that can support a big company. You need a business model that can support venture scale. Like there are only so many business models, software, marketplaces, things like that can be really great venture power law outcomes.
Yeah.
And, you need good market timing. You need kind of the fundamentals, and the founder should understand the different levers around that. But it's all about the entrepreneur. Like I like investing when it's not obvious because it's one person, two people, three people with a crazy out there idea or a unique insight or things like that. And I think honestly, like the best predictor of a successful founder is like, I call it like information or insights density per minute. Like when I'm talking to them, am I learning like 6 things a minute and they're packing in all of this mastery of a domain and their brain moves fast and I'm like struggling to keep up because they just have such unfair domain expertise through a lived experience or work experience and great founder market fit. But really it's about like, can they articulate the problem and why they're going to build it? And then do they have that kind of like X factor or hustle that they're going to go build it? But I really think it's all about the entrepreneur at the early stage.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the best part. Like when you're such a people person, like you love people and I can tell. And even in your writing, it's very obvious. You also have an edge because you can scope out and you can judge them better than most. What sectors are you excited about these days? For folks that might be listening that are building companies, let's say they think they have that X factor. They think they picked a good business model. They think they can overwhelm you with knowledge about the industry. What are the sectors you're spending time in right now and you're excited to see, more pitches from?
I always say I'm thesis informed, founder led. And what I mean by that is I think you get in trouble in venture when you are so wed to a thesis or market. And then, the founder is kind of relaying an idea that you wrote about or had, and you're like, that's brilliant. Like, let's invest. Like, I want to be learning something. The founder should be 3 levels deeper than me. I'm spending time with different kinds of companies. They're living and breathing this one company all day, every day. And so I do want, them to have deeper insights than I would have. But to answer your question, I think we're all interested in obviously AI. I don't just
buzzword.
But I think like probably the big trend in my portfolio on the B2B side is probably take human-intensive, manual, usually knowledge work that is now automatable or augmentable with AI, and apply AI and supercharge that kind of work and streamline it. So we have an AI company in the legal space in mass litigation. We have an AI company in wealth advisory for financial advisors. We have one in general contracting, in healthcare coordination. So I think all of those, what they have in common is really kind of manual workflows and arduous workflows that smart knowledge workers are doing that they can now do a lot faster, and you can price it based on labor and things like that. On the consumer side, similarly, it's like major sector for consumer spend or time, whether it's shopping or travel or dating, how is that being disrupted with AI? So I'd say those are kind of the main themes that interest me. I have a lot of healthcare in the portfolio. I think there's a really good why now for healthcare. There's telehealth adoption. There's also obviously LLMs, and healthcare runs on a lot of language, and it's a very large industry that is finally now being disrupted. But I have a lot of vertical software, a little bit of consumer, a lot of fintech. So pretty broad. Like I would say it's really more about this entrepreneur for this business.
I love it. And how do you think about generalist funds versus specialized funds? So I'm obviously it's a leading question because we all know you're more of a generalist investor, but you are really good at looking the numbers. I loved your fund math article. I think it articulates a lot of what we know to be true about how you invest. But one thing I haven't heard you talk about is should you invest across sector or in one sector? And what does the data show in terms of what will make you more successful or not? So do you have any insights into like why you've chosen to be more of a generalist investor versus, let's say, specifically just healthcare or specifically just vertical AI or specifically just fintech or whatever it might be?
My view is that the way you have top decile returns, the way you have 40% IRRs and 10x funds is by being relatively generalist. There are a lot of great companies out there, and my job is about identifying really special founders and working with them. I think there are a lot of really good kind of bespoke vertical funds, but our ambition with Daybreak has always been to build the next great early stage fund. We learn from, the USVs of the world, IA Ventures, Floodgate, Founder Collective, these more artisanal is what I call them firms. We're probably 3 to 5 partners long term. We're probably not doing growth. We're probably focused on the bread and butter of early stage. But I do think there are great companies being built in a lot of different spaces. At Index, I did a lot of consumer investing. It was sort of my swim lane there. I love consumer. I think the challenge with consumer is when you say consumer, everyone's like, someone does consumer, like they're a consumer investor. And my view with consumer has always been you have to balance it out with some more kind of vertical software, B2B, like the right portfolio has a good balance of both.
Yeah.
So we do both. For me, it is probably the view that excellent people find excellent, spaces and ideas. And I think you can be a bit more generalist if you are really focused on one thing. And that's for us pre-seed and seed. So our expertise is helping you in the first 2 years of your company. We know how to help you get your SOC 2 set up and the right technical recruiters to use, and we can help you source and hire your early engineers and get the first customers and set up the seed and the Series A. So I think it's much more around that playbook for stage versus for sector.
Totally, especially when you're so early. Like I think that makes a lot of sense. And the best founders will pivot. Like, it's the tale as old as time, but like you could be a consumer investor all you want, and then they find a really great, enterprise software opportunity. It's like, well, now we're not consumer anymore.
I mean, totally. One of my best companies started building, when we invested, they were building AI for restaurants to sort of automate a lot of restaurant workflows. And then the founder was like, I just care about healthcare. Like, my parents have worked in healthcare. Like, I feel a lot of pull there. She's now crushing it, building agents for coordination on the healthcare side. Another company had started in the healthcare one and now is doing AI for restaurants. Like, I think it just takes founders a little bit to find what is true for them. And, when you're investing at 5 posts or 10 posts really early, like, sometimes I think there's a lot of talk right now around the fast, like 5 million ARR in the first year. And you see a lot of those charts that people put out around what's standard. I think that kind of misses like what is even like when they launched the product. You know what I mean?
1,000%.
Right. Some of our companies have that crazy growth, but it took them 6 to 12 months to kind of figure out and iterate
if not years.
And refine the product. Or years, yeah. I mean, Cursor like is now obviously, inflecting like crazy, but that was a 2022 seed deal before we started our firms. And, they pivoted. They took 18 months to refine the product. And so I think it is good marketing to talk about these crazy metrics and what's required.
It's buzzy.
I do think it is probably disillusioning, is that a word, for the founder, because it makes you feel like if in the first 6 months you're not at 3 or 4 million of ARR, you're doing something wrong. And that's not how enduring, durable businesses often start.
And that's also not the stage that we want to partner with you. Like, we want to help you figure it out in the beginning.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I want to find it crazy early when it's like a glint in your eye and I can tell you're really special. And, I think you want to be like, is this person committed to solving this problem, building this business, being an entrepreneur? Like, they're not right now. I think you also see a lot of tourist founders, just like we did back in sort of the Web3 mania. And when it's easier to fund a company or raise for your company than to, get an engineering job, which is sometimes true these days, like
insane.
It becomes a vanity heuristic, but it's always a red flag to me if someone leads with how much funding they've raised. We should be celebrating customers and revenue and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's funny. I even feel that on like the angel investing side, people are like, I backed this company, blank raised, and I'm like, what? That has nothing to do with the success of the company. Mm-hmm. Last question, and then we'll do our lightning round. What does the future of Daybreak look like? Like, what are you, you talked about this earlier. It's like you close fund 1 and then you're like, okay, now I need to keep doing great deals, and then fund 2, and then like it never ends. Yeah. So right now, what does the next chapter look like, and what can you share with everyone?
I think that's the thing about venture. It is like, you are only as good as your next investment. There's always something happening. You never feel good at this job. If you make an amazing investment this week, you hear about 2 others that happened that you didn't see that you probably should have. And so I do think it takes, going back to our therapy topic, like a lot of therapy or just like loving friends and family and self-talk to be like, let's focus on the things that matter. And so for us, it's like, we want to pace ourselves. We want to be around for 20 or 30 years. And we just want to kind of continue stacking the bricks, and then things compound over time. So we want to make great investments. We want to help our companies. What does it look like kind of tangibly zoomed out? We're in Fund 1 now. We'll launch Fund 2 next year. We'll probably add another investor to the team in the next 6 months or so. Maybe a third halfway into Fund 2. I'm still thinking through that. But long term, I want us to be kind of 3 to 5 partners. Early stage, we'll scale up in terms of the size of pre-seed and seed rounds that we can lead, and check size and reserves and things like that. But the bread and butter is going to stay the same. Like, we are laser focused on the early stage, and this time next year we'll be in Fund 2, hopefully. And, then we'll be kind of just laying down the bricks so that hopefully by 10, 15 years from now, we're one of the premier early stage firms for the next generation.
Yeah. And I love a lot of the firms that you mentioned that you are hoping to be similar to, or, go in their footsteps. And I think this artisanal fund phrasing is very right.
For us, right.
For both of us.
I mean, venture splitting. Like, you see
totally
a lot of the big firms are following the kind of Blackstone private equity playbook of
100%.
Like accumulate assets, probably IPO in a few years. My guess would be GC's the first.
They bought a healthcare system in Ohio,
Exactly.
if you don't know about
It's
this.
a company now.
Yeah.
Andreessen maybe next. I mean, those are great firms. They're just selling different products than we are.
And the returns look different. I mean, it's a totally different business.
Well, different products to founders and to LPs, right?
Yeah,
and
totally.
So it's great. I mean, I think it is incredible what they've done, but we want to kind of be part of the other side of venture that is more kind of like a back to basics. I always say, like, return to the roots of venture, where we don't want 10, 15% IRRs. Like, we want, 40%, 50% plus. Like, USV, I think their data came out on some of their funds. They had a 23x fund in there, right?
2014.
Like,
I was looking at it today.
Exactly. And so it's like, that's what we're trying to shoot for. Hopefully we land somewhere near there, which would be amazing. But I think the asset class has shifted a bit. So I think I was listening to like Mike Maples was on a podcast or on
he's
stage.
Floodgate.
Yeah, from Floodgate. And he was like, he was talking to someone at a multi-stage, and he was like, you and I are in the same industry, but not the same business. And I kind of liked that framing, because it's just very different what we do.
And we can be very collaborative. That's the beauty too, is like so much of this industry, it's always balancing the like, we want to work together, but can we always work together with like people in different worlds? And sometimes, you're elbowing each other for deals. And it's so nice to be able to collaborate when folks are leading big rounds. You can come in and be, helpful versus elbowing.
And it's different, when it's your own fund and sort of your name on the door. I mean, I think there are a lot of incentives, and I've written about this at different venture firms around like FOMO investing, or if I do this hot deal, and it gets marked up, then I'll make GP. But I think when it's your own kind of balance sheet and capital, you're like, this better work because this is my career on the line. And I tell that to my founders. I'm like, $1 million does not matter much to so-and-so, but like matters a lot to Daybreak Fund 1, and we are going to bust our ass to make sure that you build a multi-billion-dollar company.
Totally. Love it. Okay, so let's do some trade-offs.
Let's do it.
Okay, so this is rapid fire.
Okay.
So like give me your first gut response, and you can expand on it if you want, but give me your first gut response, okay?
Let's do it. Okay.
Okay. Book in hand or podcast in ears?
Oh my gosh. Probably podcast in ears. Book in hand on vacation, but podcast in ears like during a regular work week.
Love it. Morning person or night owl?
Night owl. That's why this is a struggle. I'm like waking up.
We were talking before this. You like got up way earlier even before this recording. Yeah.
I do get up like at a decent hour, and then I kind of like go through my inbox, but I try not to do meetings too early because it takes me a little bit to rev up, and the world is built for morning people, but I'm like my most alert from like 7 p.m. to like 11 p.m.
Well, this is why it's good we're in New York, because by the time we are getting going, like SF people are just waking up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I used to be like in the office at like 7 a.m. and now I'm like, thank God people here are like rolling in at 9:30.
Yeah.
So.
I was actually thinking about it. I think when we first were scheduling this, we were talking about doing like an extremely like 7 a.m. podcast.
Oh yeah, and you were like, absolutely not.
I will literally never do.
You're like my dark circles. I'm gonna be like, catatonic.
That's so funny. Yeah, it's funny. I'm remembering that. Okay.
I'm that guy.
Cooking dinner or ordering in?
Ordering in. I'm very New Yorker. I'm a little self-conscious about it.
It's okay.
I
the same
think,
way.
especially with my partner, I'm like, it is one love language I just am not fluent in. I think it's because I grew up with a single dad. Hopefully he doesn't watch this and he'll be like, I cooked for you, but like his definition of cooking is a bit more like heating up DiGiorno. And he's aware that if people say like, how'd you raise 2 kids on your own? His line is like, pizza and water. That's what he always says. So I kind of grew up on like a takeout or like heat up in the microwave house. And I'm like kind of like a, dig in kava, sweet green kind of person. So
we're the same. I get it. Is your partner a good cook?
He is a better cook than me. I think he is a chiller person. And
okay.
I'm like so obsessed with productivity, which is another thing to work on in therapy, that like for me, the idea of cooking for an hour and like losing that hour of doing things is like anathema.
Me. No, literally, I'm like my hourly rate, like it just doesn't add up.
Yes.
Like it's actually also cheaper often to buy the thing from Dig than to get the groceries and cook it and spend 30 minutes. And if I'm adding that up.
This is like my love language. I am capable of cooking for friends at a dinner party, and that is more enjoyable for me.
Because it's a social thing and it's like a love language.
Cooking for myself or just us when it's a busy Monday night, not for me.
Got it. Okay. Totally fair, and we're same wavelength. VC or bootstrapping?
Well, I think VC is not the right product for probably 90, maybe 99% of founders. And I think that's an issue that our industry is so noisy and so full of marketing that I think a lot of founders who are starting a company just assume they want to raise venture, and they shouldn't. Like it just has different expectations. There's a different power law. Our incentives are misaligned from the founders, right? Like we want you to swing for the fences because it could be a potential 100x, whereas might be good for you to sell for 100 or 200 million. So it's just different types of companies that we should be investing in. And that's difficult. I think it's like you as a founder should think about whether VC is the right product, because it does come with certain rigor and expectations. And it might be financially a lot more rewarding to not take venture, or maybe you take one round, but then never raise again, become profitable and sell and own more of your company.
There was an interesting, I'm not going to remember who wrote this, unfortunately, but there was, I think maybe Bryce Roberts at Indy. I hope I'm not doing this wrong. And he did a whole analysis of like selling at Series A or selling at Series D, and the founder gets the same amount of money.
Yeah.
And it's like people don't understand. You dilute as you scale your business, and your financial outcome actually might not and most likely will not be higher if you are continuing to raise venture. So it's not for everyone. It's not to get rich. It's because that's the path to capitalize your business. And you can often make a lot more if you don't raise, or if you, like you said, raise around and keep most of your business.
I was telling one of my founder friends recently, she's getting a lot of interest for growth rounds from VCs. And she's like, should I raise again? I'm like, you have so much money in the bank. You don't need to raise. Like, it is their job professionally to invest in you, right? Like they are sitting there with capital to deploy, and there are just different incentives. Like you have to do what's right by the business. So I think in frothy market times like this, it's a vanity thing to raise, but I think unless you have a good use for those funds, don't do it.
Love it. Okay, cool. Networking dinner or big conference?
Oh my God, neither, I would say. I'm much better. I'm much better one-on-one. I would say networking dinner because at least there's more structure around who I'm talking to around me. I am like horrible at working a room at a conference. I like go to this conference to meet a bunch of people. I end up talking to you in the corner for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, did you meet this person, this person? I'm like, no, I was talking to Erica for like an hour and you're lovely, but like that was not the venue to do it at.
Like
we should have just gotten coffee.
People. Yes.
So I would say dinner, but both I feel like I'm not as great at as small group.
Love it. My hot take is that the point of big conferences is to find 1 to 3 people that you have a deep conversation with and not to do the 5 minutes with everyone.
I like that, yeah.
Not everyone agrees with me, but I find that attitude for me has been much better because I'm the same way and I don't want to feel like I didn't do a good job going to this conference. I actually did. I just reconnected with a few really great, important people.
Yeah. And maybe other people saw you and they were like, oh yeah, like manufacturing serendipity. They're like, I should respond to Erica's email or I should think of her for this thing.
Oh, she's great for the deal we just did.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Hire slow or fire fast?
I fire fast for sure. I mean, I think sometimes you don't have the luxury as a startup of hiring slow. Like you are breaking at the seams and you need like 3 engineers to join this month. I think you still should have a rigorous process, but you still need to be fast in that process. So you have to hire fast. But I think the biggest mistake that founders make is waiting too long to fire. Like as soon as you are pretty sure that this person's not a fit, it is much better for the org to get rid of them. And it sounds callous, but it actually is a kind thing to the company and your other employees. Because I think one of the few maxims that's true in venture is, in startups, is A players hire A players and B players hire C players. And your superstars are not going to want to stay at the company if the talent level is dropped and they're forced to work with people who aren't at their caliber. That's like the biggest problem is the superstars are going to then leave. Exactly.
And then you're really screwed.
It's not even about that person and slowing things down. It's how they affect the rest of the team.
Totally agree. Okay, 10 small wins or 1 moonshot?
Do we get the moonshot?
Yeah, you get the moonshot. But the 10 small wins add up to the same amount as the 1 moonshot. But would you rather have it happen via 10 small wins? Let's say 10%, 10%, 10%, or 100%?
I think the moonshot, because going back to what we were talking about earlier, we're not good at celebrating anything anyway. But I do think I would not celebrate a small win, whereas the moonshot, I at least would be like, okay, Rex, what is the new framework for like how we're going to take a beat and go for a walk and like get dinner with loved ones and really take a moment? So I think moonshot, it's like, I would liken this question to like eating a bunch of candy corn or having like one really satisfying piece of cake. And I would rather have like the one lovely dessert versus quick sugar hits.
Love it. I also will say you wrote a great essay on fun math, which we've been kind of hinting at a little bit here, where you did talk about like the power law game and just like the business we're in. Like you can have 10 small wins and actually there can be great wins, 2 billion, 100 million, 500 million exits. But if you have one $5 billion exit,
if we're talking about returns, definitely like
one moonshot.
I mean, this is a power law industry.
Yeah,
so.
But even not talking about it, great.
Yes.
Being early or being right?
Well, I think it's better to be right. Unfortunately, like another saying I like in startups is being early is often the same as being wrong. I mean, if you think about like Webvan not working despite having great founders and backers, and then Instacart working 10 years later, like I think there are a lot of businesses like that. So unfortunately, like being right is better than being early, right?
And being in the right deal, even if it's the right concept, you have to be in the right deal to actually win the money.
Yeah.
Timing. Okay, never post on socials again. And I'm going to extend this to never write another blog post again or never fundraise another dollar again.
I don't mind fundraising. Like I think for Fund 1, it was less fun because I think we had less to talk about. It's more strategy on a page. And I think the question for LPs is, what's a Daybreak deal going to look like? How will he get this check size? Can he win without index? Things like that. Now it's more fun because we can be like, look at this great company. Like, let's talk about the case study. And it's more interesting. And I like writing. Like, I could never tweet. I haven't really been tweeting since Elon. And like, I could never tweet again and be fine. I could probably never post on Instagram or LinkedIn, but I like long form writing.
Yeah. And you can even do it in private though and like share it with other people, not on socials. Okay. AI hype or AI fatigue?
I think both are true. We definitely are in a frothy moment. I think that's okay if you're in the right companies. But I think it's okay going back to the fund math piece. If you trust the fund math, it's okay. But I think we're going to have a repeat of 2021 where a lot of people were investing in seeds at 50 post or 100 post, and then that hurts their fund. And those companies go down, and then those founders are like, why did I set the bar like this, and this has really hurt the company? So I think AI is appropriately hyped. I really do think it's going to be bigger than the internet and cloud and like just the generational shift. But I think, unfortunately, both things are true. It's a bubble.
Yeah, and especially in the venture side, there's more of the fatigue of like, it's coming. We all know it's on the horizon. That bubble is going to burst.
Yeah.
Rex, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
This was so much
Such an
fun.
interesting, we covered a lot. I like how you do this podcast.
Thank you. You got to go deep first because like I
know,
want
we
people
really
to know
jumped in
you.
there.
We jumped
I'm
in.
like-
And I can't believe our,
I wonder if I'll regret like revealing some of these like
you know what?
deep.
You only live once.
We all have things that we need to work on in therapy.
Oh, and you know what? The things that you're working on, like your therapist says, not that bad. Pretty good
Exactly.
coping
A
mechanism.
defense mechanism. I feel like this is true for a lot of founders, VCs, like defense mechanism of needing achievement.
Yes.
And that is healthier than most. So, yeah.
Okay, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. On Trailblazers, we're always talking about multiplying your impact, and that's exactly what Athena helps you do. Athena pairs you with a world-class executive assistant who becomes a true force multiplier for your business and your life. Working with my Athena assistant has been transformative. Gab was instrumental in raising Park Rangers Capital's fund in ways that I could have never imagined an assistant could contribute, from closing six-figure checks to identifying new LPs we should meet to matching my tone perfectly in follow-up emails. He's elevated my capacity as a founder by giving me more time to focus on the highest leverage work. Athena isn't just about scheduling meetings, it's about unlocking leverage. Hundreds of founders, investors, and executives trust Athena to free their time and scale their impact. Athena is offering our listeners $2,000 off for their first year of service and priority onboarding. And you want that, trust me, there's a very long wait list. When you're ready to multiply your impact and free up time for the things only you can do, go to athenago.me/Erica-Wenger. That's athenago.me/ERICA-WENGER. Thanks so much for listening to the Trailblazers podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. You can also support our work by sharing it with a friend or leaving a quick review. It helps more contrarian builders find us. For more on Park Rangers Capital and our community of elephant founders, head to parkrangerscap.com or find me online at Erica_Wenger. Until next time, keep trailblazing.